Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a wonderful weekend and you're ready and rearing to go this week. You've heard me preach over and over and over again that you must be unique. You must have a hook. You must have a blue ocean idea in order to separate yourself from all the other advisors out there. We're in a commodity business. We're in a business that everybody, as far as people concerned, look alike, sound alike, say the same things. So that's why we have our unique selling propositions with the 21-point checklist system. But there are other unique selling propositions out there, and we're lucky enough today to have Jeff Thompson, who I think is one of the I would say, of all the people I've met in this industry in the last 3 decades, he is, I would say, the best innovator, the best new thinker when it comes to life insurance, when it comes to marketing. And many of you have probably or hopefully have heard of him. He's been with ECA for a long time, but I asked him to be on the call today because he has a great idea. We're always wondering, hey, how can we market ourselves? How can we get out there? How can we get people to look at us versus what everybody else is doing? And I think he's come up with a fantastic idea, blue ocean idea, on how to do that. So I hope you appreciate the fact that he's investing some of his time with us today to bring us up to speed on that idea. So, Jeff, thank you very, very, very much for being on the call today.
Well, thank you, Mike. And I guess before we even talk about marketing, which is a passion of mine, but I want to kind of acknowledge how important the work you're doing with agents is. Having had a number of agents in this program over the last 4 years, one of the things that is always across that whole 4-year time frame, the biggest indicator of failure is selling skills. Without question. And so having a highly honed sales process like the 5Q process is instrumental in being able to convert the opportunities that come in off of any marketing system, including one that really sets you up nicely, which we're going to talk about today. So
super. Thanks, Jeff.
All right, so we're talking about something we call the 7-figure advisor breakthrough. This is more than just a lead gen program, so we'll talk a little bit about why that is. But before we even get into that, when you think about your business, what are the biggest challenges? Well, Mike kind of laid out a few of them already, which is lack of differentiation in the industry is pretty common. Not having that unique selling proposition, which I know you work on with the 5Q program. So most of you have difficulty, though, possibly because of that, getting in front of qualified prospects in a reliable, consistent manner. Some of you may have a problem scaling the number of quality pre-qualified prospects that get on your calendar. Some of you might not have a method that actually gets them in front of you with a motivating topic. Now, the sales process that Mike teaches obviously helps to motivate people. So that's, again, like I say, a kind of a critical piece of the puzzle. Marketing, will just accelerate your problems in the industry if you don't have your sales process down. So, but you still need a reliable method to engage that prospect on something that's relevant, that they're going to be excited to talk to you about, especially because it's not very compelling to say, yeah, I'm a financial advisor and I do financial advising. You might get some people with that, but for the vast majority of them, it just doesn't move them to take action. So, and that's where that USP comes in. And do you have a plan to elevate your authority? So when they come in, do they think you're the person I must talk to because you're really the best suited to handle this? Part of how we do that is we try to do that by carving out a niche that is a little bit unique and that gives you then kind of that singular or monopoly in that market because you're really the only one in that market that could do this. So the prospect, when they come in the front door, they're thinking, I don't know of anybody else that sounds like you that can do what you're saying you can do. And so if we can do that a little bit before you even meet them, that I think helps a bit as well. Makes the sales process a little bit lighter load. There's only so much you can do with marketing though. So remember, Selling is always the number one skill that you have to master in this industry. Um, and then ultimately, do you have a plan to position your practice? So positioning is sort of a squishy concept in marketing, but it's really a lot to do with the territory that you're claiming, so that when the prospect first encounters you, they're they're thinking, okay, you're the person that does this. And lack of positioning is often a problem because uh, what we find is, especially if you look today, there was a time in my career, at least, that most people got their business from dinner seminars, or maybe even the yellow pages, which, if you're a younger advisor, you might not know what those are. but but yeah, but today the yellow pages is the internet. And so when somebody does a search for you online, what happens is, whatever they find there, that's your brand. And if you haven't searched for yourself online recently, I highly recommend that you do that, just to see what your brand looks like. Because if you don't like it, guess what? Prospects probably won't either. So you want to make sure that it's whatever shows up online actually shows up in a way that supports your authority, your positioning, and strengthens your brand, helps give them some confidence that coming to talk to you is going to be worth their while. And if it doesn't do that, that's some friction, and that can cause friction in your sales process. It makes the sales process that much more difficult. So let's talk a little bit about positioning and what we've built to help you have a little better positioning in the marketplace. The first piece of this is what we call the Institute of Untaxable Wealth. So some of this is just words that sound different. So when you say something different to a prospect from a marketing standpoint, uh, instead of saying, tax-free retirement, we use untaxable income or untaxable wealth. Why? Because it etches across sort of that memory in their mind. If they've heard tax-free, that may just sort of be like Charlie Brown's teacher, and it just doesn't
Wah,
resonate.
wah, wah, wah.
Exactly. But just having the right word, suddenly they're like, "What is that?" It gets them to pay attention. So part of that positioning starts with some of the words that we use, but we also then created something that you align with. So we have a website out there that when somebody sees an ad that comes through our marketing system, it's actually being run by you as a member of the Institute, but you get to use that branding. And they're going to go look for the Institute. So what happens is when they run into ads of any type, they're going to go, who is this? What's this all about? They go search and they find the Institute. And the Institute has some case studies on there that kind of help um, clients see what we're teaching you guys to help them untax their retirement income. In any case, it gives you a little bit of positioning and authority, and part of how we do that starts here, which is really behind the scenes. This isn't something that you have anything directly to do with. It's just out there because we know what happens when they encounter the ad is that they're going to go search for you first and foremost, but they're also going to search for this institute and find out what that's all about and why you might be affiliated with them and what value proposition you might bring to the table as a result of that affiliation. You can check it out, by the way, if you want to, at instituteuntaxablewealth.org. So for your own, when you have some time, some fun after the webinar. So the authority then, yeah, if you want to check it out, I think you'll have it'll be a good marketing kind of lesson in helping establish that position in the market, so you'll understand what we're doing. That's entirely agent facing, by the way. So the consumer is meant to see it. But if you read the copy on there and you see everything on there, everything is pointed at the advisor or the agent. It's meant for the consumer to see, yet it's 100% driven to recruit advisors into membership into the Institute. So just be aware of that. We're not trying to sell directly.
Well, guys, that's an important thing because it's basically a third-party endorsement of what you're doing. Because if it was pointed at a consumer, the consumer's going to go, oh, one more thing somebody trying to sell me. this is obviously just somebody trying to get my money, but when it's directed at for the advisor's edification, people are like, oh, I want an advisor who's constantly trying to who's a member of professional organizations, because that gives them credibility and authority, which is kind of what Jeff had alluded to earlier on. So that's an important concept to understand, that why you would want it to be directed towards advisors versus the consumer, because it's kind of a reverse thinking here, but it does give you more credibility when it's directed at you versus the population as a whole.
Yep. Yeah, and that's part of why we put the case studies on there. So there's some video case studies that we do in our TV studio here at DCA Marketing, from the Institute, and the case studies kind of lay out what's possible for the consumer, but we're saying, hey, this is a real case study where we helped an advisor do this for their client. So it works a lot like a testimonial, even though it's not a testimonial. So great point. So the next piece of this that kind of aligns with the Institute membership is that then you kind of carve out this authority as being an expert at helping a retiree untax their retirement. Now, we don't mean that they don't pay any taxes, but we have strategies, of course, that we can help reduce or recapture arbitrage tax liability that then helps build their retirement income, boost their retirement income. And so a handful of those strategies. But what we do then, once you become part of the program, is we actually do some PR on top of that. So to help amplify your authority to the market and what shows up as your brand when somebody does that search for you specifically, is that we do a press release that says so-and-so, whoever the financial advisor is, in this case, this is a guy in our program, has become a member of the program. So now there's this whole article that says, he's aligned with the Institute, he's got the knowledge and expertise, having been trained on these strategies that are in this blue ocean that gives you that competitive differentiation. Now, I know some of this may not be new to you as far as working with Mike, because Mike knows all this and trains you guys on all this stuff. It's just having it in a turnkey package is maybe a little bit more unusual, because we built it all really for you to do this. So the first piece of this then is that the carving out this blue.
Jeff, you and I are both love marketing, and we read tons and study tons of stuff. Just for those people on, and I've talked about this before, but probably not for 6 to 8 months. Just to give people what a blue ocean is, because some people might be scratching their heads, say, why are we talking about the ocean?
Yeah, why are we talking about the ocean? What is a blue ocean? So, and why am I saying it over and over again? So in marketing, and especially industries like financial services, where you do financial planning, the consumer has a hard time figuring out why you're different from somebody else. And actually, it's strange because we have so many different licensing regimes within our industry. Somebody might not know the difference between a life insurance agent and somebody that does wealth management, or that has, comprehensive financial planning as one of their tools in the toolbox. So the consumer is really kind of confused about everyone. It's just this mush of undifferentiated folks. And so that blue ocean, that's what we would call the red ocean. Basically, you have all this competition. The consumer can't tell you apart from anyone else, even though you might be dramatically different because you're not just life insurance licensed. You've got all your licenses and do securities and everything else, but the consumer doesn't know any better. And so having them understand how you're different is what the blue ocean is creating that space where the consumer in their mind sees you as distinctly unique in the marketplace and offering a unique value proposition that others don't provide. And Mike, you can add to that if you want.
Well, no, that's exactly, I forget the guy who wrote the book, probably a decade ago, but his whole point was so much in this world, especially with the internet now, is commoditized, and you need to have some sort of idea that people can clearly see, not a nuanced idea. It has to be almost black and white difference between your idea and what everybody else is doing. So he just coined the phrase blue ocean. So anytime you hear blue ocean, it's about being unique. There's lots of ways different say it, but that was his way of talking about having a unique idea that sets you apart from everybody else out there. Not if they look really hard, but they could just glance and see, wow, that guy's different. So
Yep.
that's what the blue ocean idea is about.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And so one of the things that we talk about in our ads when we run the ad campaign is that there are solutions out there to help you untax your retirement, and we call that the untaxed retirement income plan strategies. We abbreviate that URIP for short, but that helps you to get this blue ocean because it's what we call a unique mechanism in marketing, which basically is something that is a deliverable that sets you apart from everyone else as well. So this all kind of ties in with, there are kind of layers to the onion here, but it started with the Institute, and then we have all the other pieces, the PR aligning you with it, and then having some unique strategies that sound like they're proprietary, right? Well, they are actually. Some of them are. So our opt-in funnel is really set up to run on Facebook. We can scale that, based on ad budget, which is a really neat piece of this. We get preset appointments typically with a 401k owner. So somebody that's heavily loaded up on a qualified plan is more often what we get in the front door. And they're looking to minimize their tax, the tax impact of having all that money concentrated in a tax deferred vehicle. And they don't know that there are things they can do most of the time, because if they have talked to an advisor, they get a lot of times they get fairly cookie cutter advice. And they aren't really given ideas about how to untax what they've already got tax deferred. In which case, this is an opportunity for anyone here that if you're not talking about that, there's a way to motivate people to want to do something. They may see the current state of the government's fiscal mess and think, gosh, taxes are going to go up, and I've got all this money that hasn't been taxed yet. Is this going to end up being taxed at a higher rate than what I deferred at? And so in any case, our funnel is designed to attract folks that generally have sizable qualified plan assets that are trying to figure out how to get the heck out of them in a tax efficient way, if there is a way. And so that's the conversation opener, and I'll show you an actual ad here somewhere at some point. Of course, your ad budget is what scales this. Obviously, as we talked about earlier, there's no point in driving traffic to an appointment on your calendar if you have not mastered the 5Q sales process. So that's an incredibly important piece of the puzzle, because people come to us through a cold marketing system almost entirely. The message gets their attention. The message might move them to find out more. There's curiosity in that, but they don't trust you at all. So no matter what, even if we do a pretty good job of trying to establish your brand and your authority and your positioning online prior to the appointment, they still come with a certain amount of skepticism. So the selling process is really critical to the conversion.
Can I jump in there?
Yeah.
You've been in the business. I mean, this system that you're talking about today is only 4 years old, but you've been in the business for decades. So I always ask guys when they're first looking at 5Q, is there any marketing that pre-sells people? Is there any marketing that pre-sells people? No. If there was marketing that pre-sells people, what would happen to you and I, Jeff, and what would happen to every advisor? We'd all be what? Out of a job, because all these companies would go direct to the consumer.
Right.
So marketing does not pre-sell them. Marketing gets you an opportunity to have a conversation with them. Right. So what Jeff's talking about today is an opportunity to have a conversation with them, but you need them actually moving forward and making you their advisor. You need a system or selling skills to do that, because there is no marketing out there. Anybody tries to tell you they've got marketing that pre-sells people, they're full of baloney, because if they did, they would have sold it to Vanguard, they would have sold it to Fidelity, they would have sold it to somebody else, not to you and I. So
Yep. It can do part of the lift, but it can't do. You've got the biggest part, right? Once they get that conversation started about something they're interested in, about a problem they perceive they have, that's about as good as it gets. It doesn't get much
Right.
further than that, and then you have to take it from there. So,
Yep.
one of the things that we like and that we built into this program is an appointment setter. So there's a lot of different programs that can generate leads out there. Most of them are pretty generic. Some of them are kind of a black box, so you don't even know how the lead is generated. I don't like those just because I feel like that creates a disconnect between the ad and the conversation that happens next. So what we've tried to build is something that, you know what the ad is, you know what the message is, you know how you're being positioned so that you know what the conversation is when you get on the call with them and how that ties into what happens next so that there isn't a breakdown in what the customer perceives you can do for them. But we like to have an appointment setter because a lot of the programs out there, might generate a lead and then they say, there you go get them, go call them. They opted into the funnel. And I don't feel like that's a good use of your time. The highest value, use of your time to me is that sales process and having that face-to-face conversation with somebody that's interested. And so we use appointment setters to make sure that we just get people on your calendar. You don't have to chase them. There's also some positioning things that go along with that. If you're calling to book your own appointments, your status is lower in the perception of the
Absolutely.
prospect than if you have an appointment setter setting them for you. So what we're trying to do is elevate your status again, aligning with kind of everything else we're doing with the institute and all that, so that you're kind of a in-demand commodity as opposed to desperate to talk to somebody. So kind of a big difference there in terms of the
There is. That's a huge difference.
yeah, the consumer perception. So, and again, it saves you time too. Um, we have a cold prospecting selling framework because we think selling to somebody completely cold is a little different than selling to referral. You've probably obviously found that out in your own life. This isn't, I would say maybe the biggest difference, and this overlays with, the 5Q sales process because Mike teaches so many like critical skills within the sales process. Our framework is really more about like, how do we start this first call with somebody cold and get it to the second appointment where we can actually do more with it. We get buy into that next appointment. This first appointment is kind of make or break in cold prospecting. So when you have a lead come from a Facebook ad, if you ask for too much information, a lot of times that scares them off. So we have kind of a minimal, it's almost a pre-qualification call. So there's a framework that shows you what we've learned, that when you get somebody cold on the line, don't send them a 36-page fact finder on that first call because you won't hear from them again. So, and we've had people do that. So just, you know, so, um, so the preset appointment, let's talk a little bit about what that is. So I already mentioned that we're focusing mostly on folks that have that qualified money, and I want to talk a little bit about what kind of stuff we're finding on Facebook. Some of this actually surprised me, although maybe I shouldn't have been surprised, but this text message finds people with money. And so strangely, it sometimes finds people with no money, but any marketing seems to miss. You know, I won't say every lead is going to be somebody that like, wow, this is a incredible opportunity, one after another. Occasionally, somebody makes it through our funnel that has nothing, and we don't really understand why, because the message is designed to repel them. Wouldn't even be relevant to them for the most part. But I would say when you get the right prospects that come through the funnel, they range in size from probably $1 million in qualified plan assets to, somewhere between that and 10 million. And we have people that have, even more than that. But surprisingly, you can find multi-millionaires on Facebook, and they will respond to an ad that comes across their feed. So when they do, obviously, we want you to be ready for them because you don't know what you're going to get. One call might be somebody that doesn't have anything, but the very next call could be somebody that's worth, $5-6 million. So, and some of the opportunities that come off of off of the leads that come in through Facebook, I would say, there's almost always an opportunity to sell an annuity. We use a strategy that we call the tax neutral Roth conversion. If we're going to sell an annuity, that's often where that fits in. We also use life insurance extensively in the program as well for its many tax benefits, and there's some unique versions of that, but oftentimes there's a life insurance sale there. I would say it's not uncommon to see six-figure life insurance commissions come off of these ads. So that's a pretty nice, those are pretty juicy cases for sure. Although I wouldn't say, we're still seeing some larger annuities, $500,000 to $1 million annuities still come off of this as well. So anyways, the preset appointment, that's a little bit about what types of prospects you might find. They're typically, 45 to 65 years old. They're looking to talk to somebody who can help them with tax strategies that maybe they're not hearing from their existing advisor. About half of these folks have an existing advisor, but the other half do not. So you've got, the perfect system with 5Q sales process to separate them from that existing advisor, packaged with a little bit of a blue ocean as well. And then also you'll have those folks that, you just need to be able to convert because they don't have an advisor looking for help around these tax issues. I think we already covered that. So I wanted to show you, this is where I wanted to show you a copy of the ad. So this is just a quick little blurb, but it's run by you as a member of the Institute. So you get that Institute branding. And this is an ad that's working quite well, to generate appointments. There are different levels that you can come in depending on ad budget. I'm not going to get a lot into that right now, but depending on what your marketing budget is, you can choose your size or your amount of activity that you want. But the minimum viable campaign generates roughly about 10 appointments a month and about 30 opt-in leads a month, roughly, sometimes 30 to 40, somewhere in that range. And I guess that kind of brings me to the end of this. So this is a tool, like anything, it can be used to really provide leverage to scale your business. It's not a panacea because marketing is never, the only answer to your success in this industry. But anybody that's a member of 5Q has already realized that and working on that. So this is just one of those pieces of the puzzle. And Mike always recommends that you guys master the process before you take that step into the marketing budget zone, and for good reason. Yep. Because it's better not to light your money on fire. So
yeah, I mean, these are not pre-sold people. You're getting people to reach out and have a conversation. But if you sound like every other advisor that they've ever talked to, they're going to immediately say, oh, this is just like the guy like everybody else, and the conversation is going to end. Or if you do something silly like Jeff said, where this person's really interested, they wouldn't have taken time to talk to me if they weren't interested, so I'm going to send them a 32-page questionnaire. Dudes, so this is a way to get in front of people, but then it's your job and responsibility to conduct yourself in a manner that will continue that conversation forward.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, and you'll get plenty of people that are interested and skeptical. So your skill at building trust, getting on their side, and all the skills that Mike teaches are priceless in getting these to conversion. So the deliverables that we provide to, and I should make a little note about this. As Mike mentioned, I'm kind of obsessed with not just marketing, but just having unique strategies that we can do on the back end. So some of the things that we do are a twist on the conventional off-the-shelf stuff that you might find. So whether that's tax strategies, where we actually have a strategy that we show a case study on the Institute site where we can take somebody that has a large qualified account and reduce the tax liability by almost 75% on already tax deferred dollars. So that's a pretty neat story when somebody's looking at, hey, I've got $3 million in my 401k, and you have a way to help me recapture and reduce those taxes by almost 75%. Neat story. So that's a piece of our puzzle too. So if you haven't talked to your life marketer about some of the unique strategies that we offer at ECA, it's worth a conversation. So we can introduce you to some of those strategies as well. And that blue ocean does often help us in the marketing, converting those leads that come from the marketing, because they're seeing something that's also aligned with that message, right? It's we're not showing them a deliverable that's just kind of plain vanilla that they could get anywhere. We're showing them something that unlikely they've seen anywhere else.
Yeah, once they've seen you as unique in the marketing, you better be able to follow through with that, or the conversation is going to end.
Yep. So the deliverable is the other piece of this. We have a selection of deliverables that are going to be introduced at some point once we know what their main focus is and what their problems and concerns are through the sales process. We'll identify a strategy that we think is going to get them excited and motivated, and that they likely have never seen before.
So let me ask you a question then. So when they, how do our guys find out about those deliverables then? Will they contact you, say, here's what I got an appointment, here's what the people are interested in, what technique would you recommend? I mean, how would that process work? How do they determine what is the best deliverable to offer those people reaching, the consumer reaching out?
Great question. So we actually have a process that we've developed to kind of go along with the marketing that we call opportunity engineering. So once we know what the basic fact patterns are and the concerns of the client, you can contact your marketer, your life marketer at ECA Marketing. And we also have a person that's kind of dedicated to this, and his name's Don Teagues. You can talk to him as well, and we'll help actually design the case, find the strategies that make the most sense, and help you package up the case. We also
our advisor doesn't have to be an expert on those techniques. They're going to have your team's assistance in doing that.
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, we'll even potentially get on to help at least do a presentation of the strategy. So in case there's concerns about questions coming up that they don't know how to answer, we've got somebody that can answer any of the questions about it. We're not doing the selling, but we're doing the technical.
You're the experts.
Yeah, the experts, third-party expert role. So, and then there's other stuff. We have some tutorials. Our institute is actually not just a marketing thing. We actually have three different calls each month that cover different strategies that we are utilizing. So you can sign up for those. One of those is the Advanced Markets Life Insurance Series. You might have seen that, but if not, you can check that out too. So several different calls that we do every month to cover different things like that. And there's a library of those. So that's everything I've got, unless there's any questions at this point, Mike. I guess.
How do guys get involved in this then? What's the process?
So the next next step would be I would contact your life or annuity marketer at ECA and say, hey, I want to look at getting involved in that 7FAB program. And they'll usually set up a call with me. They'll get you some more information on what the different price points are to get in, because we have a few different options to get in. So yeah, pretty straightforward.
Awesome.
Next step, and if you want it, you can go to there's a website here that you can check out if you want to go check that out. That is iulaccelerator.com, and I can have that sent out after the fact here. We can maybe post it in chat if you want.
Yeah, and Missy, can we get that on the?
Yep, I'll go ahead and I'll post it with the replay information for everyone as well.
All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Jeff. I appreciate you always come up with great ideas, and especially which is good. You do tend to lean towards the higher net worth people, which I don't think any advisor is going to to be sad about. So thank you very much for sharing these great ideas continually.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
Have a great day.
You too.
Okay, and I just moved that back over to you there, Mike.
So guys, if you're interested in that program with Jeff, then call call Dan, Nate, or Jerry, and they will get you set up with talking to Jeff or one of his cohorts there to get you the information you need to determine whether you want to move forward with that or not. Make sense? Super. Well, one of the things that we find difficult in this industry is that we're what I call an island. We're out there by ourselves. We don't have that person to pick us up when we're down. We don't have that person to help us wallow in our disappointment if we lose something. We don't have that water cooler opportunity that we normally have. So I like to intersperse our coaching calls with things that maybe will help you more on a personal and professional level. And I came across this short video, which I thought was fabulous for us to think about when it comes to our business, when it comes to our life, when it comes to our relationships. So I thought I would share it with you before we get into our 21-point checklist script review. But here, this guy is talking about how we should live our lives versus how we do, with an awesome physical demonstration of that.
Is this jar full? Is it full now? And how about now? Is the jar full now? Yes. Now I want you to recognize that this jar represents your life. Golf balls are the important things, your family, your friends, your health, and your passions. The pebbles are the other important things, your car, your job, your home. The sand is everything else. It's just a small stuff. Now, if you put the sand in the jar first, you won't have room for the pebbles or the golf balls. The same is true in life. If you spend all your energy and your time on the small stuff, you won't have time for all the really important things that matter to you. Pay attention to the things that are critical to your happiness. Take care of the golf balls first, the really important things. Set your priorities, because everything else is just sand.
So guys, give me some ideas of non-important things that fill our lives. What are some non-important things that fill our lives? I'll give you one of mine that I've really fixed this in the last 5, 6, 7 years, but road rage was a very unimportant thing that filled my life, because how often do we experience horrible drivers, rude drivers, a-hole drivers? Rarely, right? And I would let that suck up, and after that event had happened to me, I would be angry for 1, 2, 3 hours thinking about that over and over and over and over. In the past 5 years, I have completely eliminated that from my life, and guess how much room in that jar that has filled up for me. What are other some small things that occur? Let's see, I have to get out of here. What are some other small things that fill up our bin? In fact, it's a very small thing that you hold in your hand, probably way too many minutes a day, which is what? Yeah, your phone. Your phone. Now, if your phone is being used to deal with the golf balls, the important things in your life with your family, your friends, your connections, terrific. But if you're on social media, is social media the major important things, the golf balls? Is social media the gravel there that he put in there, the little rocks that are also important, like your car, your rent, your job? Or is social media the sand that just fills up your life and nothing gets done with it. And guys, do you have, I hope you all have this. I hope you all have the app that at the end of every week tells you how many minutes you spend on your phone going through that stuff. And it should make you throw up. If it's 2 hours, 3 hours a week, guys, 2 or 3 hours a week, how many hours is that per month? How many hours is that per year? What could you have done differently with those hours? What's another little thing that could fill up your time? You know, though you've heard me talk over and over, and for the probably have gone over this book probably dozens of times in the past 25 years of coaching, guys. How to win friends and influence people. And the main thing is don't criticize, condemn, or complain. So I've told you I've whipped my problem with road rage, but don't criticize, condemn, or complain. That's something I'm still working on a daily basis. So how much wasted sand in my day is dealt with criticizing? Because what good can come from criticizing? Any? What good can come from condemning? What good can come from complaining? We shouldn't be filling up our life with those kinds of things. We should be looking at what? Making our life better. Does criticizing, condemning, or complaining, does that do anything to move your life forward, to make you happier, to make you better, to make you a more fulfilled person? No. Fill your life up with positive things. Does that make sense? So I thought it was just a great demonstration on how we can fill up our life with things that just don't matter. And the problem with it, it's not just that we're filling our life up with things that don't matter. It's that it pushes out that time we could have been invested in the positive things. Make sense? So today's 21-point checklist script is tenure. So let's see how we deal with tenure.
Somebody has. So if I gave you the choice to be chauffeured around town for the next 3 hours by a 16...
Again, talk about this every single week when we cover a script. Do I jump right into their finances, or do I use a real life situation to get their buy-in that, oh no, that's how I would live in real life. Oh, so I guess that also applies to my money. So they can't argue afterwards. It gets them in the right mindset. So here we go.
16-year-old teenager or a 60-year-old, which one would you feel safer with?
The 60-year-old.
The 60-year-old, I would too. But here's the thing. If they were to take tests, who would have the better reflexes, better reaction time, better hearing, better sight? Which one, the 16-year-old or the 60-year-old?
The 16-year-old would have better reflexes.
They would. But I would still take the 60-year-old, even though he doesn't. Why?
Well, he has more experience. He knows, what to look out for.
Well, he does, because he can see an accident coming from what?
Oh, a long ways away.
Does he have to have fast reflexes if he can plan for it?
Right.
He's seen it before. He's not rattled.
Right. He can plan for it.
Yeah. So how about a pilot? If I had a pilot who's been piloting for 5 years, only flies in the daytime, never flies in bad weather, or given the choice of a pilot with 30 years experience who has been got into flying because he was a combat pilot in the war. He's flown for 30 years as what would you say, a regular airline pilot, and he's been flown in storms, at night, in fog. He's had engine failures. He's seen everything. Which one do I want to fly with?
You want to fly with that guy.
Duh, right? I mean, Sully. Remember Sully in the Hudson River?
Yep.
Did they say he landed that because he had lightning-quick athletic reflexes? What did they say?
No, because he had so much experience.
He had experience. So somebody tells me there's a hot-shot pilot with 5 years experience. Who would I still choose?
No, you want the guy with more experience.
I would. I mean, does that seem reasonable or not reasonable?
No, that's reasonable.
Yeah. So the financial industry has been around for well over 100 years. And really, any industry that's been around for 100, has the education industry been around for 100 years?
Like teachers?
Teachers, yeah. So are there some teachers with 30 years experience?
Oh, yeah.
Doctors. Are there some doctors with 30 years experience? Engineers with 30 years experience?
Yeah.
Is any industry that's been around for a while is going to have people with what kind of experience?
A lot of experience.
And those are the people that are the leads on teams, or the ones that are the flunkies that work for the people who've been doing it for 5 years?
No, those are the leads.
Yeah, and why do they have why do they have them as leads?
They know. They've been around more. They know more. They have more experience.
Yeah. And so if we wanted to choose a money manager, would we choose one with 5, 6, 7 years experience, or would we choose one with 20 or 30 years experience?
20 or 30 years.
I would, and why would we?
They've seen more, they know more, they can handle things better.
So guys, even before I show them what their average manager tenure is, what do I have them tell me? Do I tell them that having a manager with not very much tenure is bad? Or have they, how many times now has Jeff told me in real life situations and with money that having somebody with experience is really the only way to go? I would always, not most of the time, always choose somebody with experience. How many times has Jeff told me that? A gazillion times.
Yeah, what if I was told that, well, we have a genius manager, he's only been doing it for 5 years, but he's a genius. Given the choice between him and a 30 years experience, which would I choose? 30 years. Because if you think about it, would a guy be managing it for 30 years if he wasn't somewhat of a...
And he's got to be good.
I mean, they're giving him more and more money over the years. Could they have replaced him if they wanted?
They wanted to.
So why has he been managing for 30 years? Because he's an idiot?
No, he's smart.
Yeah. So, and what has he seen? Had there been stock market crashes in the last 30 years?
Yep.
Had there been different presidents?
Oh, yeah.
Tax law changes?
Yep.
Recessions? Interest rates up, interest rates down. I mean, what has he seen?
Everything.
And the guy who's been doing it for 5 or 10 years, what have they seen? What's the market been doing for 10 years?
Going up.
Up and up and up. What have tax rates been doing for the last 10 years?
They've been going down.
What have interest rates been doing?
Going down.
So the only thing he's seen is what? Everything, or a very tiny slice of what could happen?
Hardly anything.
So what do we want? Somebody with a lot of experience, or somebody with not very much experience?
I'd say.
Guys, have I been saying that even if the guy is a genius, what has Jeff been telling me? And would your clients answer any other way? Even if they told you that this is the best money manager in the world, he's got unbelievable algorithms, he's got unbelievable brain power, but he's been doing it for 5 years. What would that person, with the way that I've walked through these questions here, what would that person say? They want the person with unbelievable algorithms and unbelievable brain power and unbelievable genius, but he's only been doing it for 5 years? Or they want somebody doing it for 30 years? What percentage of people are going to choose the 30% of people? When I have the same conversation that I had there with Jeff, what would percentage of people would say, I want the guy with 30 years, regardless of how brilliant this 5-year guy is, or this 7-year guy is, or this 10-year guy is? Come on, everybody tell me. What percentage of people? High or low? 100% or 0%? What percentage of people want the guy with 30 years experience? Yeah, they all want the guy with 30 years experience.
A lot. I would too. So when we go to our good old handy third-party resource, what?
Morningstar.
Morningstar, we look at your funds again.
Okay.
And again, every time I go back to Morningstar, we've already gone through Morningstar and why they want a third party, but I go through it again to make sure he understands, why did we choose Morningstar as a third party? So I constantly remind him before I bring a Morningstar up for a different issue, why we're using Morningstar.
Manager tenure.
Okay.
So it says your average manager tenure is what?
10.69.
So they've seen what? The market only do what?
Just go up.
Interest rates only do what?
Just go down.
How many recessions?
None in the last 10 years.
So what have they seen?
Nothing.
And do you think that there's only, again, did we say that there's only...
So guys, if I didn't go through the conversation like this and they said, hey, your guy only has 10 years experience, if all I said at the beginning is that, now let's talk about tenure. A tenure, your advisor, your money managers only have 10 years of experience. What would most people say to 10 years experience? They would say what? Well, that seems pretty what? That seems pretty good. So I had to do all those, walk through that whole entire conversation so they realized that what? At first I thought 10 years was good, but now that I think about it, 10 years what? Sucks. So that's why you have to have these lead-up conversations instead of just jumping in and talking about their money.
Newbies in this?
Uh-oh, what happened?
And why would we?
They've seen more, they know more.
Replace them if they wanted. Third-party resource what?
Just go up.
Interest rates only do what?
Just go.
Doing it for a long time, do you think they have a lot of money under management or not a lot of money under management?
Oh, a lot.
A lot. So guess what happens? The more money they get under management, guess how many fees they need to charge? Those would go up or go down if they have a lot of money.
More volume, I'm sure they're charging lower fees.
So some of the best money managers with 30 years experience their fees are extremely low. In fact, many of them are no-load funds.
Okay.
So when it comes to experience, 10-year, do you want more or do you want less?
More experience.
More experience, not?
So what am I doing here, guys? I'm doing the same thing at the end of every script where I'm giving them, did you want this or this? And you're being charged more or less. Do you want this or this? Charge more or less. Oh, so you wanted this, but you got this. And for that privilege, you're being charged more. So it's a black and white so they can see I'm getting screwed.
Less. And when it comes to fees, do you want more or less?
Well, less.
So you want more experience, less fees. Instead, you have what?
Less experience and more fees.
Do you see, guys? Do you see you have the the world is your oyster with these scripts. Over and over and over, they're finding out not once, not twice, but 10 times that this guy, the thing I want, my guy has given me the opposite. And the reason he gave me the opposite is so he can charge me more, not less. See, do you see how investing the time to learning these scripts, why I got people who their son was their advisor to leave their son as their advisor. Why this closes anybody you want. It closes 94% of people that you do this with. And again, it could close 100%, but the other 6% of people you don't want. You could have closed them if you wanted them, you just didn't want them. It's because of these things.
Now, again, do we mind paying for things if we're getting something for it?
Not if we're getting something.
But do we want to pay more for the opposite of what we're actually getting?
No.
And are you getting the opposite of what you actually want?
Yeah, we're doing the opposite.
Yeah, because what would you prefer? Of this little diagram, what do you want?
More experience and less fees.
And you're getting?
Less experience with more fees.
And were you ever shown that you could have invested in managers with much more experience with less fees?
No.
Why not?
I'm sure it's because that's all he sold was just what he offered us.
Yeah, well, remember we said on your variable annuity, those money managers were no load or load? You could have bought them what?
Load, but we could have bought them no load.
So does he not know that they exist?
Oh, he knows.
So why did he not show them to you?
He's making more money.
See, when Jeff said, well, he probably just doesn't have those things available to them. Is that's somewhat of a motive, but how much difference of that motive? Well, he probably didn't have those things available to them as compared to he sold me these things so he could make more money. Which one's more powerful? He didn't have those things available to him, or he did this to me because he wanted to make more money? Do you see how when Jeff gave me an answer I did not like, I circled back, I agreed with him, said, yeah, but he might not have had it available to him. So let's think about this, and then I just circle back and re-ask the question again with more information so he gets it right, which is the reason he did this is because if he's using people, and guys, who am I talking about that has unbelievable amounts of tenure? What kind of people have unbelievable amounts of tenure? Well, Warren Buffett for one. And how much does it cost to invest with Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway? If I want to buy a share of Berkshire Hathaway, what is the sales charge on that? What is the sales charge on that? Yeah. For me, it's, I think, $4.95, because that's how much it costs me to buy a stock. If you buy an S&P 500, again, there's no manager there, but I guess there is a manager there. All that manager is doing is what? Buying the S&P 500. How many years of experience is that? As long as the S&P 500 has been around. How much does it cost? Nothing. So, guys, do you see how even manager tenure, at first somebody would look at it and say, well, 10 years, tenure, that's not that bad. By the time we get done with this, that looks like what? Crap. And then he tells us the reason his advisor did it is why? To make more money on me. So he did this to make more money. He did this to make more money. He gave me the opposite of what I wanted here, 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 the opposite of what I wanted there. And he did all those opposites to make more and more and more and more money. Who's going to stay with their current advisor if they say that 10 times in the financial portion of the 21-point checklist? I know he gave me the opposite of what I wanted when it came to fees. I know he gave me the opposite of what I wanted when it came to balance or diversity. I know he gave me the opposite of what I wanted when it came to safe investments with my bonds. I know he gave me the opposite of what I wanted when it came to tenure. I know he gave me the opposite of what I wanted when it came to risk reward. I know he gave the opposite, and he did all these things to make more money on me. What people are at the end are going to say they're going to stay with the current advisor? Nobody. Do you see the power of learning these scripts? And when I break it down to these little vignettes, does it seem that hard? When we just look at this 5 minutes I did the manager trainer, does it seem that hard for you to learn that script? Does it really seem that hard? If I went to a high schooler and I said, hey, you learn this 5-minute script and I'll pay you $100, how many high schoolers could learn that script within a day, within a couple hours? They don't know anything about the finances. They don't know anything about investing. They don't know anything about even what a manager tenure is. But how many could learn that? So that's, guys, please, 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 you have the world by the tail with these scripts. These scripts have worked for 25 years, 100% of the time. Please, please, please invest in your time in learning these scripts. Just one at a time. You don't need to learn the whole thing. Just learn one at a time. Make sense? Super duper. Well, you guys have a fabulous rest of the week, and we'll talk to you all next Monday. Thanks, everybody.